Welcome to our Trump Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into President Donald Trump's latest trade moves. He's sending tariff letters to 6 smaller countries like the Philippines and Libya, with plans to impose tariffs up to 30%. Interestingly, major U.S. trade partners like the EU are still off the hook, but these tariffs are part of Trump's bigger game to flex economic muscle and negotiate better deals. In international news, Trump surprised everyone by hosting 5 West African leaders for a secret lunch, amid U.S. aid cuts that threaten millions with increased mortality. The shift from aid to partnerships is raising eyebrows, while the EU and Malaysia are trying to keep trade talks alive. Meanwhile, domestic issues like a measles outbreak and political investigations are also making headlines, showing that the U.S. is juggling many crises at once. Lastly, the German-Polish border is reintroducing controls, disrupting daily life and stirring fears over EU unity. Citizens and officials are concerned about the rollback of free movement, as stricter migration policies take hold. That's all for today. Please continue to stay tuned for more detailed coverage. The Washington Post reports that President Donald Trump is continuing his aggressive trade strategy by sending tariff letters to 6 smaller U.S. trading partners, Libya, Iraq, Algeria, Moldova, Brunei, and the Philippines, aiming to impose import taxes ranging from 20% to 30%, starting August 1. These targeted nations account for a negligible portion of the U.S. trade deficit, yet Trump views tariffs as a tool to project American economic power and leverage diplomatic negotiations. Notably, major trade partners like the European Union, Japan, and South Korea are either spared or engaged in extended talks, with the EU optimistic about reaching a deal soon. Meanwhile, the administration's broader trade and sanctions policies include blacklisting Iranian firms involved in shadow banking to pressure Tehran, and Trump's recent moves have stirred controversy and concern over inflation, economic growth, and diplomatic relations. The Toronto Star highlights the broader implications of Trump's foreign aid cuts and policy shifts, especially in West Africa and Israel. During a surprise meeting with 5 West African leaders, Liberia, Senegal, Gabon, Mauritania, and Guinea-Bissau, Trump signaled a move away from traditional aid models, emphasizing self-reliance over charity. Experts warn that this shift could cause over 14 million additional deaths globally by 2030, including millions of children, due to reduced health and development programs. Simultaneously, the U.S. is mediating a fragile ceasefire proposal between Israel and Hamas, with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu indicating a potential 60-day humanitarian pause and broader negotiations. Domestically, health and social programs face significant cuts, with rising measles cases and strained Medicaid services threatening vulnerable populations, especially children. The administration's actions reflect a contentious approach to foreign and domestic policy, emphasizing economic leverage, reduced aid, and austerity measures amid ongoing geopolitical and health crises. According to the Toronto Star, U.S. President Donald Trump hosted a surprise multilateral lunch at the White House with 5 West African leaders from Liberia, Senegal, Gabon, Mauritania, and Guinea-Bissau amidst the region's turmoil caused by drastic U.S. aid cuts. The meeting aimed to explore cooperation in economic development, security, infrastructure, and democracy, highlighting Trump's belief in Africa's immense commercial potential. Earlier, the Trump administration dissolved USAID, shifting from a charity-based aid model to one emphasizing partnerships and trade, claiming this would better serve both American and African interests. Critics warn that this abrupt policy overhaul could lead to millions of deaths, with studies projecting over 14 million additional fatalities globally by 2030, including 4.5 million children, as West African nations, some of the most aid-dependent, suffer the consequences. Despite representing a small share of U.S.-Africa trade, these nations are rich in resources and face challenges like migration and drug trafficking, issues that concern the Trump administration. Liberia's President Boakai expressed optimism about the summit's outcomes, reaffirming commitments to stability and inclusive growth, while some of these countries, including Gabon, Liberia, Mauritania, and Senegal, may face expanded travel restrictions under future policies. The Toronto Star vividly illustrates how the Carney government's recent legislative initiatives threaten Canadians' privacy rights and national security. While initial reforms aimed at boosting interprovincial trade and infrastructure appear promising, a series of bills, C-2, C-4, and C-8, cast a dark shadow over personal privacy and government oversight. Bill C-2's expansive data sharing powers seem tailored to facilitate agreements with the U.S., risking deeper surveillance and erosion of privacy. Meanwhile, Bill C-4's provisions for political parties to harvest personal data echo the vulnerabilities that have destabilized American democracy, all pushed through without proper parliamentary scrutiny. Bill C-8 grants unchecked powers to spy agencies, bypassing oversight from the Intelligence Commissioner, heightening fears of unwarranted searches and data misuse. Compounding these issues, outdated laws like the Privacy Act remain unmodernized despite ongoing investigations into privacy breaches, and the unregulated use of over 300,000 government devices underscores the systemic neglect of data security. Incidents like a recent hack affecting military personnel highlight the urgent need for stronger protections, yet reforms lag over 2 decades behind technological advancements. The government's complacency toward invasive data collection, especially with AI-driven data mining, exacerbates these risks, leaving Canada vulnerable in an increasingly interconnected world. The article underscores a stark reality: neglecting privacy reform undercuts national security, and safeguarding privacy is fundamentally about protecting the country's security itself. Yahoo US reports that a Rhode Island man, Carl D. Montague, aged 37, was arrested for making death threats against President Donald Trump, Attorney General Pamela Bondi, and White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. The authorities charged him with threats against the president, interstate threats, threats to assault, and the kidnap or murder of U.S. officials. Court documents reveal that Montague posted a profanity-laced message on Truth Social on June 27, explicitly threatening gun violence targeting these prominent figures. The FBI, Secret Service, and Providence Police investigated the case, and Montague was taken into custody without incident. He is scheduled for an initial court appearance in Providence, and the case continues to develop as authorities gather more details. Yahoo US reports that Senator Jerry Moran of Kansas criticized the Trump administration's government-wide hiring freeze, highlighting its impact on vital meteorological staffing. He pointed out that the freeze led to vacancies in Kansas's weather forecast offices, including a shortage of meteorologists during a recent EF3 tornado, which compromised 24/7 coverage when it was most needed. Moran introduced legislation to exempt the National Weather Service from the freeze, emphasizing the importance of consistent staffing for accurate weather forecasting. Despite assurances from Neil Jacobs, the nominee for NOAA leadership, that staffing would be a top priority, Politico revealed that the 126 vacant meteorologist positions around the country remained unfilled a month after the administration directed hiring efforts, with no job postings on usajob.gov. Moran's concerns gained urgency amid ongoing debates over government downsizing, especially after recent devastating floods in Texas underscored the critical need for well-staffed weather services. Jacobs acknowledged the importance of local relationships and committed to prioritizing staffing if confirmed, recognizing that trusted meteorologists are essential for community safety and effective weather prediction. Deutsche Welle reports that the once open and seamless border between Germany and Poland, symbolized by the iconic bridge adorned with EU flags and the phrase, "without borders," is now experiencing a significant shift as border controls are reintroduced. Since October 2023, Germany has implemented spot checks, followed by Poland in July 2024, in response to Germany's stricter migration policies, which include refusing entry to asylum seekers, a move that has stirred controversy and heightened tensions in border communities. Locals like Arkadiusz and Dorota express skepticism about the threat posed by migrants, but residents such as student Lilith worry about the increasing inconvenience, with longer queues disrupting daily routines. Meanwhile, citizen patrols, self-styled border defense movement members, have emerged along the border, filming border guards and spreading conspiracy theories, like secret migrant deportations through forests, fueling distrust and paranoia. Critics fear these measures threaten the spirit of the Schengen Agreement, which has historically allowed free movement, and warn that the border is becoming more militarized and divided, undermining decades of cross-border cooperation and integration. The border region, once a vibrant hub of shared life, where Germans and Poles shopped, worked, and visited friends, now faces the strain of political decisions that threaten to fracture the close ties that have long defined their communities, with some residents and officials calling for more humane and practical approaches that respect their unique way of life. CNN reports that the U.S. Appeals Court has upheld a controversial policy that makes it difficult for consumers to cancel gym memberships and other subscriptions, effectively blocking a proposed rule that would have mandated businesses to match the ease of signing up with the ease of canceling. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, under the Biden administration, had introduced the click-to-cancel rule to combat deceptive practices, such as misleading billing and making cancellations unnecessarily complicated, but the court criticized the agency for failing to conduct a proper cost-benefit analysis before implementation. The rule, which was set to take effect soon, faced fierce opposition from business groups like the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which accused the FTC of overreach and micromanagement. Critics argued that delays initiated during the Trump administration allowed corporate lobbyists to influence the legal process, effectively preventing consumers from gaining protections against unwanted subscriptions, including gym memberships, streaming services, and cable TV. This decision underscores the ongoing tug-of-war between consumer rights and business interests, leaving many consumers stuck with unwanted or unmanageable subscriptions. CNN reports that President Donald Trump has escalated his trade war by threatening to impose tariffs as high as 30% on imports from 5 additional countries: Philippines, Moldova, Algeria, Libya, and Iraq, set to take effect on August 1, unless negotiations yield new trade agreements. Trump's letters to these nations highlight his frustration with persistent trade deficits, where the U.S. imports more than it exports, and cite other policies hindering American exports as justification for the tariffs. He urged countries to manufacture goods domestically in the U.S. to avoid tariffs, warning that retaliation with higher tariffs on American exports could lead to further escalation. Despite ongoing talks since April, few agreements have been reached, and Trump's assertion that "a letter means a deal" seems to be at odds with how some nations interpret his messages, signaling a tense and uncertain phase in global trade relations. The Independent reports that Terry Gilliam, the renowned Monty Python animator turned acclaimed filmmaker, laments that the re-election of Donald Trump has destroyed satire and significantly impacted humor's role in society. Gilliam asserts that Trump's rise has turned the world upside down, making people less afraid to laugh but also stifling the sharp wit of irony and satire, which he believes are vital to life's vitality. He criticizes woke activists for fostering a climate of fear, discouraging jokes that poke fun at humanity, and claims that this cultural shift has effectively killed satire. Gilliam candidly states that his latest project, a star-studded comedy about the apocalypse called The Carnival at the End of Days, has been derailed because of Trump's influence, forcing him to consider rewriting much of the film to reflect the tumultuous years from 2020 to 2024, dubbed by him as the Trump Lost Years. Despite the setbacks, Gilliam teases an impressive cast including Jeff Bridges, Johnny Depp, Adam Driver, and others, hinting at the film's potential but acknowledging the challenges in funding and production. Reflecting on his career, Gilliam also expressed frustration about being unfairly blamed for global issues, emphasizing how the political climate has stifled the very humor that he believes is essential for life. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
News breaks, buzz the ground, stories spin, walls come down, voices merge in the sound, faces mix in the crowd, broadcasters paint the scene, world events on our screen, every link a different theme, words collide in the stream, 6 degrees connect the dots, background stories more than us. Hear the voices rise aloft, truth unveils in every spot, cultures clash across the globe, spin the threads in a strobe, every story wears a robe, truth and lies in their code, journalists dig real deep, secrets out, they don't sleep, every angle they will keep. In the news we take a leap, new perspectives day by day, hidden truths come to play, in the background shades of gray, every story finds its way. day by day.